Hey guys, this is Joe748, and I'm here with SD1, the co-host. Colin is out for the day, so we're going to take over. How you doing, SD1?
Really, really good, man. How you doing?
I want to know what's making you really, really good and not just really good. Curious.
I've taken the last 2 months off work.
Yeah, that'll do it. I need to follow suit, actually. It's about that time. Our guest today is 5 a.m. 5 a.m. is a former poker player turned full-time Blackjack card counter pro, over six figures in winnings, and he's played in multiple countries. So I'm really excited to dig into some of these stories playing internationally and all over the U.S. How you doing, 5 a.m.?
Good. Very excited to be here. So, let's get it started.
Nice. So yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your whole background in poker and then how that changed to Blackjack?
Yeah, so it pretty much started with me as a kid. I was very interested for some reason in money and casinos, and not just getting rich, but just the fact that money was a certain kind of thing and people could bring money to the casino and then like multiply it. So that really intrigued me. And when I was 9 years old, I was at a casino with my dad. And in my country, you're not allowed to enter the casino when you're below 18 or 21. So we were peeking through the glass and a guy saw that and he went into the casino and he came back out with this booklet and it was the rules to Blackjack and it had a basic strategy card. So we took that home and we started playing. And as a kid, looking back on it, I'm so amazed, but you pick up these things so fast. So I'm absolutely pretty sure that I was perfect at basic strategy when I was like 9 years old after like a week playing with my dad, because I would point out the mistakes to him. And then when I was 13, the poker boom started to become a thing. And pretty soon, I started playing for money at 15. Played that for years and years. Not professionally, but semi-pro. I also did the studies meanwhile. But I really liked the game, but I hated studying, like studying for my actual studies, but also studying poker. So when the solvers started to become a thing and everything started to become much more calculated, I noticed that my edge dropped. And at some point, I just was not a winning player anymore. So I barely played. And then 1.5 years ago, I ran into the videos of Stephen Bridges. And then I ran into the videos of BJA. And I already knew that card counting was profitable or doable because 7 years prior to that, I had a crazy run in online blackjack, like the online blackjack with the live dealers just started to come up. And I had an app on my phone that could keep track of every single card. So I was like playing actually perfect. And I made from 5,000, I made 180,000 euros in like 1.5 weeks. So I knew it was a thing. Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
What was the penetration like on that online game?
It was in the early stages. So I didn't know much about card counting yet. I didn't know like you had to take insurance at the tier 3. But I think it was an 8 deck with like 2.5 pen. But I would be back counting all the time. And the biggest thing is I would be martingaling. And I remember that on my first 5,000 bet, I would hit a blackjack immediately. And that was just a run. I just kept winning until I didn't anymore. And then I lost like a really big bet and then I quit it.
Oh my gosh. Like, I don't think many people can say they started their card counting training when they were in their early teens. SD1, what was the first time you gambled on anything in your life?
I mean, other than buying my mom lottery tickets when I was a kid, because you used to be able to do that, mine was actually the poker boom too. So I played a lot of poker back in the day when it was good. 5 a.m. probably like you can play 5, 6, 10 tables at once online. It was glorious. And the EV was great. And for my ADD brain, like it was not boring. Poker is boring to me now. Like it's too slow. And the EV's just, I mean, I'm not Phil Ivey, so the EV is not there for me.
I got in trouble in 9th grade from my Spanish teacher because I was doing $5 hands of heads or tails in the back of the class with other classmates. And the school called my parents and they told my dad, and my dad sat me down, was telling me how I got, they said I got in trouble for gambling in class. And he was like, that just does not sound like you. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't sound like me at all, Dad. So if you're listening, sorry, Dad, but it has led into a profitable career path.
Was it a double-headed coin?
No, there was no advantage. But actually, it's better than going to the casino because at least it truly is 50-50.
Right.
So 5 a.m., Yeah, after you had that like crazy winning streak, martingaling on this online blackjack game, what happened after that?
I finished my studies, I traveled, and then I found those Stephen Bridges videos like 1.5 years ago, and that's how I kind of got started. And I immediately knew like this is what I want to do because I was looking for something to travel and work at the same time, but I don't want to work remotely behind the screen. Like I actually want to do something. I love gambling. I mean, I need the dopamine. So it was all just there.
Yeah. So you did your training at home and everything, and then got good enough to start playing. So how did you begin your journey? You aren't from the U.S. You were living somewhere else at the time. So where did you start playing, if you're allowed to say?
Yeah. I'm Western European. My country only has CSMs. So my first trip was to London when I had like I would say like a $25,000 bankroll. The minimums there are mostly £25. So that is 25K is just enough to play that comfortably. And then I just started taking trips there. And then you hear something here or there, you Google some things and you end up in different countries.
Did you kind of burn out London first, or were you still okay to play before you moved on to other countries?
I slowly started burning it. And at the same time, I started discovering other countries as well. I would do multi-country trips most of the time.
England is, for those that don't know, is kind of remarkably tolerant to a point, especially on a 25 min table and that 25K bankroll. You probably got a decent amount of time in there.
Yeah, definitely. They are very tolerant. Often there's not even anyone on the floor that can really identify a card counter. So what they do is they will review your play later or let someone else do it. And then the next time you try to enter the casino, you'll be backed off. So you almost never will be backed off on the spot. It will always be upon your next entry. So that helps. And I must say, like those limits and being able to get so many hours in, that really helped me because it's so different than in the US, especially at the level where I play now. You're just getting backed off every single day multiple times. And in the UK, it's just you can play.
And there is a downside to that, though. With the tolerance comes once you get, is it kind of like once you get backed off from one, it's sort of backed off from the chain, and then you have to show your ID at the front.
Yeah.
There's no side entrance.
Isn't it like 3 main companies that own like 90% of the casinos too?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. So I'm done in all of them except for one, and they are wherever I go, they're half shoeing me, so it's not really worth it either.
You don't have to say where you went, but like when you went to the next place, the next country, how did that game look compared to what you've been used to playing?
It was amazing, like absolutely amazing. Actually, I found it through BJA. I got a lot of people that ask me like, where should I go, this or that. And mostly I just can't say anything because I still got people hitting up those places. But what I can tell people is just literally Google and BGA forum search and you will find places. You will have to contact some people. And this guy said, yeah, you have to go there. It's really good. And it was amazing. So it was early surrender against the 10, which was already very nice. There were a lot of casinos and there were rebates. So wherever you would go every day, you could claim like a 20% rebate, pretty much. So that shortens your N0, it boosts your EV. Country is very cheap. Every casino would give you food. Yeah, it was really, really good. And no heat for a long time until I burned myself at one place and they fired me around the country.
For those of you that don't know, a 20% rebate is really big. That's really nice to have. So yeah, I can imagine that was kind of beautiful for you to have that. I mean, you kind of have an edge walking in, but on top of that, wow.
Did you have to establish yourself as sort of like a quote unquote gambler before you set up this rebate? Did you have to have a history with them, or you just walk in and say, hey?
Anyone that walks in and knows about it, because you have to ask for it, will get it. The only thing, sometimes they will give you more rebate if you play bigger, or they will give you a little bit less if you play smaller. But I mean, if you lose 2,000 a day, you will get 400 back easily. But there's a way to that as well. You can't just come in, place 2,000 on red, and then claim the rebate. They won't like that. They will ban you like pretty much immediately. So you have to like play in a little, like stay a little bit longer than you would normally do and play in like that.
Nice. And what was the max there?
They get really big players there. So I don't know what the max was, but I was definitely not maxed out at 1,000. For sure some casinos had 5,000. And I think if you would ask, I think you could get 25,000 there.
Okay.
There's a lot of bad money going on.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I don't want you to say, I feel like a lot of the podcast is going to be, I don't want you to say, or don't say this, or don't say that, but we'll try to talk around it. But I'm wondering, currency-wise, was it something you had to go out of your way to transfer a lot of different currency, or did you have some already on hand from either a teammate or?
Yeah, I think I was lucky that my dad had some dollars. Where I'm from, there were euros, so I had pounds. But in this area with all the casinos, I mean, there were multiple crazy things I need to tell you about because, first of all, there's a lot of crypto shops. I was there and I had $25,000, which I wanted to deposit into a crypto account. And they let me do it without ID, without anything. Like no one ever knew that I was there. So you can easily take out your money there. So I asked them like, okay, let's say I want to get like $500,000 out of my crypto account. Can you do it? They say, yes, we can do it without ID, anything. That's a crazy thing. And the other thing is the casinos, they don't make money on the currency conversion. Actually, I changed it one day and the rate in the casino was better than the rate on Google.
What?
Yep.
So you get an edge off the top here, left and right.
Yeah. I didn't misuse it, but it was like, there was nothing that could be better about this place ever.
That's amazing.
Yeah, offline, Joe and I we're gonna talk about this so we can get a trip together.
When you find this rebate play, I mean, are you even thinking about counting at that point, or are you just trying to do like a even spread or just basic?
Yeah, if there's one thing that I regret is me not knowing enough at that point and being too greedy. So I was spreading pretty much 50 to 300. And I shouldn't have done that. I should have been flat betting or spreading smaller to last longer. And I picked the wrong spot to make a big win multiple days in a row because they flyered me and I don't think other places flyered me. So that wasn't the best. But at least the people that I talk to now, the friends that I met through BJA, if I send them there, my knowledge is of good use to them. So at least they're going to hit them for a longer time and for more money.
Was there a CSM available in the room you could have gone to if you had a second chance? So, yeah.
Yeah. Some of them had CSMs. And there was one thing in this country where it was not just the rebate, but there was also the option to have an extra double. So if you have a 7 against a 6, you would double, because if you would get like an ace or a deuce or a 3 or a 4, you would double again. So including that was already an edge off the top. So if I got those games, I would just play CSM and I would pretty much flat bet until I got backed off.
Nice.
So it's similar to double up, I think, which we have here in some states.
I didn't encounter that yet. Is it like Spanish that you have to double for twice the amount, or?
No, that's really cool though. There are other qualifiers that kind of like make that unattractive and negative EV. It sounds like with you just had the option to straight up double again.
Yeah, it was regular blackjack with double again.
When you find these unique rules or rebates and things like that, how did you sim the strategy of like the doubling and things like that?
The extra double strategy I found through a lot of Googling and then getting into contact with someone through another forum. And the simming was kind of a problem. I contacted Norm for this and he directed me to a certain area, but the software actually didn't allow me to sim that because it's too much like Spanish. So it is kind of in there, but not fully. So I couldn't fully sim it. What I would just do is just take like how much money I'm betting, flat betting, and then just times the amount of hands and then times the edge that I have off the top and then do it like that.
Yeah, kind of quick and dirty math.
Exactly.
I'm not sure if you calculated this in regret, because I've done this in the past where I'm like, oh, I should have did this and I would have flown under the radar with this special rule. But when you were playing that rebate game, did you calculate how much it would have been worth if you were to just flat bet instead of try to use a spread?
So yeah, I did calculate it. I simmed it a little bit, but I don't remember what it was. I just know that I got a lot more time in while flat betting. So the longevity would have outplayed my numbers of spreading by a mile. That's why I regret it. And that's why I'm also very much looking forward to getting a team together and hitting them up properly.
Yeah, right.
I'm in. You don't have to ask. I'm in.
There must be a threshold of their. I mean, they still have to have a threshold of your win limit, and I'm curious what that's going to be for you guys. There has to be, because I also assume that these other gamblers who are there, I have not encountered worse basic strategy than what I've seen when I've played over in different countries. It is so bad. People complain here in the US about people doing stuff at the table. That is nothing compared to what you see overseas.
I'm with you, Joe. It is like pure gambling. Every hand is what am I feeling? What? It is crazy. And you've probably experienced more than me, but I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like, what in the hell? Doubling twos versus tens and shit like that. Like, it's crazy.
True. I actually have a story about that because in another country, I got backed off and they were offering a full early surrender game with extra double. And the next day I came, and this was in an Arabic country. And when I came in the next time in the casino, there was this tall white dude. And he said, the only reason you're in this country is for this game, right? And I was like, well, playing stupid. But what turned out is it was one of the nicest conversations I had with a casino because we talked for 2 hours, like completely open everything. And he was telling me about the way he calculates EV and like how he looks at the game. So I was like, okay, this guy actually understands what he's doing. And he said about those games, like, yes, I know this game is beatable. I know it's profitable off the top. But the reason that I keep it is because the players are so bad that it makes up for it. We attract so much more people with it than it's costing us.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's a sharp casino operator. I mean, that really is.
But he was really good.
I just had this conversation the other day with another AP, and it's mind-numbing. I say this all the time, how stupid casinos are and how much money they lose because they don't understand math of their own games. That guy can take an edge off the top game, and he's probably even calculating it to a degree of how bad the play is, and he's probably still getting 5% edge on the game because they play that bad.
Yeah, he even asked me at the end of the conversation if I knew how much the edge was. And of course I knew, but I didn't want to make him wiser. And then he told me what he thought the edge was. And the edge was he thought it was 0.25%. And I knew that if you play perfectly, the edge is actually towards 1%. So he wasn't completely on with his calculations. But yeah, still, it was super fun. It was actually crazy because that game, I came there and I hit them really hard for over $20,000. And then they told me it was 11:30 in the evening. And they told me at 12, we're going to change the rules of the game. And I was like, just for me? Or what is this? They say, no, manager just called, we're going to change the game. So they changed the game at 12 o'clock. And I had someone else going there 2 months later and the game is still changed. So I actually burned out that aspect of the game. You cannot extra double there anymore. I'm sorry, guys.
Happens to a lot of us.
Yeah. There's a lot of body counts around from other APs, so you don't need to apologize. Good on you.
At this place, were you flat betting there?
Yes, I was flat betting and CSMing also because they had to open a shoe and I didn't want them to be more suspicious, or it was just flat betting. And I calculated that at some point I was upping my bets, and at the best I was making towards $1,500 EV an hour.
Are you just brute forcing scouting these places, or are there certain things you're looking for? Like, oh, I found this game with this rule, and then you're looking for other places that possibly might have the same thing? Or are you just kind of traveling everywhere?
Yeah, so what I've done until now is I get a small lead somewhere. This last thing I told you about, I Googled it and I found a blog by someone 20 years ago, and I decided to travel there. And they didn't display casinos like on the outside, so it was all hidden. It was not allowed for local people to go there, just for like rich tourists. So this took a lot of time driving around the city and flying around the country also. And you're going to put in a lot of dirty miles to get to sometimes a game that's really that good. And that was not even the best game I ever found. There's one game you guys want to hear about as well, because it's just, I never expected this to be possible. So this was on the last part of the scouting. It was far out of the city. So I was like, I don't really want to go there, but I got to go there. And it was Casino 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the first 3, there was not much. And then the fourth one, I came in and I was like, whatever, I got some time to kill. I will play it until my flight leaves. And then I'm playing and they're telling me, yeah, you can take a card and then you can surrender. And then they were telling me rules and rules and rules. And let me give you a list. This was full early surrender, so profitable off the top. You can surrender on any amount of cards. There's unlimited redoubling, so not just one extra double. You can double 4 times if you want. You can surrender after any double or redouble. You can surrender your split hand. Just everything that you can think of was in that game.
What?
And I was sad because someone hit it before me because there was a sign that said like $200. And then with a pen, someone crossed it out and said $100. But I was flat betting that for like 2 spots of $100. And I was just playing and playing and playing. And they had no idea. The only reason I got burned there is because the other casino I told you about, I think they gave them a call. So I was playing there in the night. And then I got up at like 6 in the morning and I already noticed everyone was suspicious. So I was stretching it to the max. And then the pit boss came to me and he was a really, really nice gentleman. And he told me, yeah, I'm really sorry. I have to say that. I don't want you to leave. But if you leave now, you can never come back again. And I'm like, so I asked him, I can stay now for as long as I want. And he was telling me, yeah, I would love if you stayed now because you can give us a shot at getting the money back. Like these people were clueless. But it was 6:30 in the morning. And I was like, this is one of the biggest dilemmas of my career because I was so dead tired. And I decided to go and just leave the game. And man, I wish there was some magic stimulant that I could have just played for 48 hours there, but I didn't do it. I took the money I made, but it was a crazy situation.
That stimulant does exist. You just don't want to do that to your body.
You don't want to do that in that country as well.
Can't change your name to 6:30 a.m. yet. That was going to be my next question is some of these places that you've played, are they in kind of dangerous areas or is the casino just kind of some money laundering ties?
The games are not regulated, but I never had any bad experience. Outside, it feels very unsafe, but it isn't. Things can happen, but I was never worried for my money. I mean, I would be more worried in American places, in some American places.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Where were you the most worried, do you think you've been on a trip?
Oh, I don't know if it counts, but I was on a parking lot. I sleep in the parking lots because I live in my car in the US. And it was late at night and I was just doing my thing and I had my light on above me in my car. And then I looked up and there was this like lady that was super skinny and like gray hair and all hunched and everything. And she was looking at me like this. And I got so scared, but she got scared of me probably. And then she came closer because she wanted to walk past my car. And I was like, don't look up, don't look up, don't look up. But you have to check your surroundings if the danger is still there. So I looked up and she was looking at me again. And then also in my side window, she was looking at me again. And on her shoulder, she had a cat. And I was like, what kind of horror movie is this? And this was the only time I was so scared. I think I called a friend or I texted a friend and I'm like, dude, I'm in some kind of horror movie. But money-wise, I've never been scared.
The thing about certain shady areas controlled by crime syndicates is a lot of times those places can be the safest because they want nothing to go awry. So even though you're surrounded by a lot of bad, they are protecting that area to make sure nothing goes horribly wrong. I mean, that can happen in the US at some point, but my wife actually, she had to travel on business to Mexico and she stayed in a very, very nice town that there were people just walking around with machine guns. And she talked to the cabbie and she's like, I should stay in my hotel, shouldn't I? And he just said, no, this is the pretty much the safest place in Mexico. And then starts pointing out the houses of those that controlled the cartels. And he said, nothing happens here. Nothing will ever happen here. So it's kind of that situation.
Wow. These unregulated places you're playing, have you ever been worried about any kind of potential cheating here or there?
Yes, I have been, especially when they came up with that like full early surrender, double this, double that, surrender this, surrender that. I was like, I think I even told them like, you're going to lose money on this. And then they told me, no, the house never loses. And then I was like, man, you guys are full of shit. I asked them, are the cards in there? They said yes. So I did make money in the end. So I think it was legit, but then I was worried. And what happens a lot is that they are miscounting your hand and taking your money. And it happens like all the time. I would say averagely like maybe 6 times to 10 times an hour, depending on the dealer.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah. And 90% of the time, it will not be in your favor.
But if you catch it.
Oh, yeah. If you catch it, it's fine. Yeah. One time it was weird. I pointed it out. Like it was like this 5-card 16 they made, and I had stiffs and they were taking my money. And I said, guys, wait. And they were looking at it and they were still taking my money. I said, wait. And they were just taking my money. And then I asked to get another pit because 2 people will be watching the table and no one said anything. Then I got someone else from the pit and they said, oh, yeah, you're actually right. It's not 17 yet. So they took another card. They busted, luckily. Then they paid me out and they paid me too little. And then I said, okay, we're going to stop this right now. You're going to check the cameras, how much it is. And actually, they took my bet. Then they gave my bet back and then paid me out. And they gave me too little. And I'm happy that I calculated that. And then I just looked at the camera on top and I was like, I think I put up my middle finger because I was just so upset at the situation that they tried to cheat me and then also short me after I pointed it out. And yeah, that was the last time I played there.
That's like a BJA test out at the boot camp where if we notice that a boot camp attendee is highly practiced, we'll like do a ton of dealer mistakes and then short them after the mistake is corrected. And we're like, yeah, we're going really hard on you, but don't worry. It doesn't really happen like this in the real world, but it does if you get out there enough.
Yeah.
Yes. If you play enough in the most random places, you will get there.
So since you played a lot of poker, there's a lot of variance, obviously, in poker. There's a lot of variance in blackjack, but especially when you're playing these games, when you have an edge out the top, some of them aren't, the edge isn't massive. So you experience a lot of huge swings. Talk about the difference between gritting your teeth and going through that kind of variance versus poker variance, where, yes, EV is established in poker, you know your game, but it's a little bit more gray than it is with blackjack. So
yeah, that's what I find very nice about blackjack. With poker, you never know what your edge is, and your edge changes per table that you play, per day that you play, per year that you play. So you never know how good you really are. So you quickly find out that you're going to question yourself. And I know there's people listening now and they're questioning their game because they're going to a downturn or a bad streak. I'm questioning my game all the time as well. But I know like the math is so solid behind blackjack that I feel like the variance is really not as bad as poker. I mean, the swings can be huge, yes. I mean, I've had days where I lose 20 grand or win 20 grand, but I know that if you just do this for long enough, you will make money in the end.
which one do you enjoy more?
Exactly for that reason, I enjoy blackjack more. Just the feeling with poker that I never knew how good I was and I knew I was never the best. I just didn't like that. You're going to make decisions and they're going to be negative EV and you will never know that you did them.
Yep.
Have you noticed the swings are way more violent playing these edge off the top games versus a regular counting game with a big spread? Or is it the same?
These good games that I told you about with the edge of the top have been really good for me. Like my hot run, I've had about 200 hours in my career where I made all the money that I made, and that was in that run. So I was just really lucky there, and I feel that I'm currently going through the negative swings. So I would say that the regular blackjack is more swinging to me, but the sample size is too small to really say something about it, I think.
Well, that's the advantage of the edge off the top games a lot of the times too, especially if you're playing CSM and you're cranking those rounds per hour. The N0 is a lot shorter on that game.
Yeah, that's what I try in the US as well. I play heads up or with another person, and I will always be playing high limit, so it's very possible. But yeah, if you're going to sit down and play with 3 other people, it's going to be a long run.
Coming to the US to play, are you just bummed out that it's not as great as it was when you had all these crazy international plays? What was your reaction coming here for the first time playing?
I was a bit scared. I was like, I'm going to get backed off all the time. And then literally my first destination, there was a double deck game that let me play for like 4 hours, 5 hours a day for 5 days straight. And I was like, wow, it's not all bad. But then pretty soon the US casinos realized who I was, and I was spreading from 25 to two spots of 1500, and that gives you some heat wherever you go. So very soon I noticed the flyers following me, and like within 3 weeks, I couldn't get in a good session anymore. I was just getting backed off and trespassed everywhere.
What's your strategy in terms of like outrunning the flyers right now? Because the difficult thing about those obviously are when they send out those SIN alerts or those flyers, normally it's to a particular area and you're just kind of guessing how big that area is. So in the US now, are you crossing zones more, regions more, as opposed to like, you get a couple and you realize, yeah, I'm definitely flyered. I didn't even get like money on the table before they said bye. So what are you doing to kind of outrun those right now?
Yeah, that's a really good one. This is what I'm going to do in the future, is just I'm going to skip some states and then try elsewhere. But what I did before is I cut my trip short one time and then just go back to Europe for a month. And I did that 2 times. So I'm in my 3rd US leg now. So I take 1 month break and then you reset a little bit depending on the area. I'm going to get into disguises from now on. I'm going to make some modifications to my car and just see if I can get more hours in.
What are the things you like about playing in the US versus anywhere else?
I looked forward to living in my car and just that adventurous aspect. And I still love laying in my car. Like I've already done more than 100 nights, but every night when I'm in my bed, I'm like still like, oh, nice. I'm laying in my car and nobody knows I'm here. And it just feels so adventurous. I love going around the US. I always wanted to explore the US, but it's just so expensive if you want to spend a lot of time here, as opposed to other countries like Latin America or wherever you want to go. And the fact that I can see this country and make money at the same time, that's just really good. So that's what I like about it most.
Are you just renting a car for months on end?
No, I bought a car because I knew that I was going to do this for 1 to 2 years. It looks like it's going to be more like 1 year, the amount of backups that I'm getting. But I figured that it would just be better to buy a car and then just build it good.
Yeah. So money-wise, it's probably right. Like simple dollars and cents, multiple rental cars would probably help you in terms of like the car not being identified. But if you're hot, you're hot. And so they don't get the car, right? They're still going to get you when you go in. So I don't know if that would really be worth it. I think I'd lean more towards what you did too. I think it makes more common sense. So you said you love living in your car, which I just think is great and hilarious. I would hate it. But the adventurous side of you, what are some great stories? It can be in Europe or in the US, as you're just kind of doing probably more than any other most Americans have done in exploring their own country. What are some good experiences you've had that you can talk about outside of blackjack? Or are you just working all the time?
Well, honestly, when I'm on a trip, I'm working all the time, especially in the US, because I had that downswing. I'm just like making hours to get to that new all-time high. It's all a little bit blackjack related, but one fun story is a casino in London. I lost there big time, and then I got into their highest reward level. And then I got invited every month to have dinner with the table games manager for like 4 months straight. And at the end of the dinner, they would give me £1,000. And that's like, I don't know, $1,500. So I would literally have dinner with the table games manager, put up my whole story about how I'm a professional poker player. And I kind of try to keep track of the cards. That's why sometimes I fluctuate my bet and blah, 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 blah. And I would just be straight up lying and collecting my, $1,500 at the end of the conversation. They would send me to football matches, all those kind of things. That was pretty fun. Other fun things are just meeting up with people that I meet through BJA. I recently had a really good one through a mutual friend that I also met through BJA. And he put me into a group chat with this other guy that I didn't know. And I said, hey, you're both in the same area. Maybe you guys want to meet. So we started texting immediately. And we were in the same casino just 5 minutes before. So we immediately went for dinner. And sometimes you meet these people and you just have so much in common. And we talked not a lot of blackjack, but a lot of personal life. And it was just such a huge boost to keep on like getting the hours in after that, because you had that mental like satisfaction for a while. And I'll be going to his wedding in Colombia in January. So that's just how random this community can be.
That's awesome. We love hearing that. We say that kind of stuff all the time. Like, you know, the being by yourself, it's makes it even more taxing. So leaning into like the community and getting friendships and meeting up with people, like, I mean, that's I certainly wouldn't have been doing that this long if I didn't have the community. So that's awesome. Good on you for being willing to go out there, but also awesome that you're meeting some really cool people. That's a good story.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if people are hearing this and they're like, "Oh, I want to network or I want to hang sometime," and they're in the US or Canada, they can always send me a message, and I'm literally keeping a list of people I've been in contact with, and then whenever I'm in the area, I just send them a text, and we can always go for drinks or dinner or whatever.
Yeah, it's a huge morale boost. Like if you're getting pummeled on a trip and you're just, I've talked to people or messaged people like, oh, I'm in Kansas. And like, oh, I'm in Kansas too. It's like, oh, where are you at? It's like, oh, I'm 3 hours away. All right, let's meet an hour and a half in the middle at this gas station and just like bitch and complain about how things are going lately. But it's so great.
It's fantastic.
How would you say back offs compare international compared to the US?
So yeah, you got the UK ones where you're just not allowed entry on your next visit. And then the other countries I talked about, in general, they were very friendly. They would get very panicky once they start noticing something is up. Like you would see people like walking around the pit and whispering, which you will see in US casinos, but a little bit more discreet. But once the back off comes, in general, they're pretty nice. In the US, it can be so random. It can be anything. I really like the back offs where they just respect your game and they say, hey, your play is good for us. And then I'm nice about it. But then if I feel like they're like being unfair or giving me bullshit or they start counting down the deck, I hate that so much, then I will not be the nicest person either.
Well, pro tip for you in the US, there are a lot of pit bosses that will just grab the discard tray and make it look like they're counting down the deck, and they have no freaking clue what they're doing. They're just trying to see if they can get you to leave. So there's a hot tip for you.
That's a good one. Yeah, I never leave anymore. I just wait for the backup nowadays. Like if there's heat, then probably they're gonna not allow me back in on my next visit, so I might as well get these few extra rounds in.
Yeah, I've told a story before. I was playing New Jersey, I think it was 8 deck, and the pit boss comes. You know, New Jersey, they always sweat you like that. They always like count down the discard tray and stuff. There was like 3.5 decks in the discard tray. He pulls out the whole discard tray, thumbing through 3.5 decks on an 8 deck game just for heat. I mean, he wasn't counting. He was just going so fast, you know? It's just like, there's no way you're counting. Like, ugh. Has there ever been a time where you had a really nasty US back off?
No, I only had one heated one in Canada, if that's worth telling. That
Wow,
doesn't
yeah.
count as the US, but there was this place and I was coming there and they immediately started nearly half showing me, but it was early surrender. So even with like 2.5 decks out of 6, I was still hammering them, just like spreading really big. And they didn't like that. And the dealer said like, pretty much what she told me is, we can't send you out today. There's no one to do it, but we'll do it tomorrow. So in my head, I'm hearing again, like, okay, I can play here forever. And I learned from that other mistake. So I was just getting like settled in to play here for hours and hours and hours. And then this other guy joins the table and he starts betting big. So at the beginning of the shoe, I ask him, do you want to play a few hands for yourself? You know, get them a little bit chill. Like often they can get a little bit aggressive when things don't go their way. Not all the big guys, but some of them. So I try to please them a little bit. And I won in like halfway through the shoe because it was going bad. And it was a true 3. I mean, of course, yeah, I'm wonging in with a few $100. And then the pit boss comes and apparently that gave him the authority to send me away. And he was really not nice about it and then didn't really want to explain to me why. And I felt that it was unfair because they couldn't send me away. And just because I was being nice to this guy, they sent me out. So I got very confrontational there and security came and I was just like walking after the pit boss that was walking away from me, just trying to get a good explanation from him. Just the fact that he was walking away from it just angered me even more. And then at some point I got grabbed by the arm and then I was like, don't touch me. And then I cashed out. I don't know what happened if I kept going there. But it was also like definitely something that I'm not proud of. You should try to be as unmemorable as possible. I don't know if they put these kind of things in OSN, like they might make you more aware of who you are and more on the lookout for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we teach that. It's definitely the way to go, but I certainly understand. I think Joe and I have both had our instances where we didn't react the best. I mean, when you're getting the hours in and somebody's just an absolute asshat and it's just completely disrespectful and rude and all that, and if you're going through a downswing or you just traveled 8 hours in the like, there's just so much that it compiles and it just compounds everything. And sometimes mentally you're just like, no, screw this. You suck, and you just want to tell them. I mean, that's human nature. So definitely don't fault you for that. But yeah, you are correct, 5 a.m. Unmemorable. You want to be nice and unmemorable. Just grin and know that you're winning and they're losing.
Yeah, it is hard sometimes when, all the backoffs pile up and it's just, you can keep your cool for so long and then just that one person, it's just something about that one person just sets you off in their approach. I know before I've like yelled at the guy, I'm like, just back me off like a man. It's like, stop wasting my time. But you try to do your best. Doesn't always work, but yeah.
I just want to see you get mad, Joe, at a pit boss. Like, you're so even keeled.
It takes a lot.
Yeah.
But it has happened. There's actually it happened once I was playing in Europe. It was an early surrender game, not early surrender 10, but it was straight up early surrender. And the guy half shoed me. It was more than half shoe. It was like over 3 decks on the 6th deck after 1 shoe. And it wasn't like a fly or anything. It was purely just, oh, this guy is American and he's playing perfect basic strategy. And I'm going to cut off like 3.5, 4 decks out of 6. And I was so angry. And also it was like late at night. I was like driving all day. I was just like, ugh.
It feels so unfair.
Yeah. How has your US trips been so far for you?
Horrible.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
Tell
beyond anything I've ever imagined. Well, I love the US, like seeing everything, the Rockies, West Coast. I even enjoyed driving through Nebraska. But besides that, the games have been a lot of backoffs, and the variance is just insane. Like on the past 600 hours, which most of them is US, I made like 150,000 in EV and I lost $6,000. And that's at least 4 and zeros. So yeah, I've been looking for a long time for people that have been going through swings, not hour wise, but mostly and zero wise, because I'm sure that like people that play red chips and have like super long end zeros, they will go through this a lot. But it just like, again, that sense of entitlement tilt is so annoying. You have that in poker, but I definitely have it extra in blackjack now, because with poker, you don't know how good you are. But in blackjack, if I come into a casino, I am always the favorite to go home a winner, and still I'm losing money. And sometimes I just want to tell the pit bosses, like, I should have had that money. You shouldn't back me off with 10 grand losses. So it's been really bad. Just still looking for an all-time high.
Yeah. When you see your EV line, it's like so high up compared to the AV line. And it's like, you're looking at the separation of it, the gap. And it's like, I'm never going to get there. Like, this is just not going to happen. Like, how is this going to happen? How can I reach that? It's like, it feels like you have to have a miracle after another miracle to be able to even get to that point.
Yeah, literally those thoughts. But I had the same, because I was running above EV after like 300 hours. And I was like, oh, probably I'm never going to dip like far below EV ever again. And now I'm at 40% of EV. Like, what?
But then all it takes is that 1 or 2 sessions and you're like, holy crap, I can't lose. Like, even if you're paying rent and playing the negatives, when you're even winning those, like, it's nuts when those happen.
Yeah, I had a month of that, and I was just texting my BJA friends, like, literally what you say. I was recording voice messages. Guys, I just can't lose. Like, you can't lose a proper hand.
This is so easy.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Oh, yeah, I can do this for another 2 years. But yeah, mentally, it's been hard. It's been hard. Like, I also wrote this on the forum, but going through that and going through it alone, I've sat in my car, like, nearly crying. I've let out the emotions more than once in a casino. Like, I wrote that, but I would never point it to people, but I would just get so mad at the universe and just start swearing. And in my car, I would start screaming and just try to let it out all out and try to deal with it. But it's a tough mental grind for sure.
Yeah, and I assume your time is limited here. Like you can only spend X amount of months or
Yeah, it used to be 3 months, but now I got a visa, so I got 6 months. But I don't think I can do 6 months. I've noticed the first month it's fun, the second month it's work, and the third month it's like, yeah, let's not do this again.
yeah, it's tough when you're on that timeline and you do feel like, oh, I have to every single day I have to play and make up for it because you're paying expenses and everything and you're losing at the same time. And yeah, it's rough. And also it's not like you're going in with a modest spread. Like you're playing aggressively, right?
Yeah, very aggressive.
Yeah, 25 to 2 hands of 15, right?
Yeah, that used to be. Now I had to size down, and I'm mostly playing high limits now. So it's pretty much 100 to 1,000, but used to
High
be bigger.
limits because of the crowds or the game conditions.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, both of them. Especially the area where I'm in now. It's just a lot better if you play higher.
Well, I'm always to help your 6 months in your mental state. I always think about Joe's talk that he gives at boot camp. Like, take the time, like you said. I even enjoyed driving through Nebraska or whatever and seeing the Rockies. Like, keep hooking up with people, and there's nothing wrong with taking 4 or 5 days off, doing something you haven't done before, taking in the United States, because there's a lot of difference state to state. That's for sure. That might help your mental capacity a little bit, just to really take that in and take that time off.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I should allow myself to do that, but it's always hard when you didn't make any money. You feel like you don't deserve it, you know?
Yeah, I get it. I've been there.
Even just now when you just said that, I was in my like road trip card counter mind. I was like 4 or 5 days. I was like 4 days? I can't take 4 days off in a row. Like that's crazy. Like that's so long.
Yeah, that's so funny. Whenever I tell people like why this is so good, it's because I have the ultimate freedom to do whatever I want. If I want to fly to the other side of the world tomorrow, I can do it. If I want to take the day off, I do it. But now I'm thinking about it. I never do it. Like I'm just working.
Right. Listen to an older man. Do it.
Duly noted.
Definitely do it.
I'm curious, how do the gamblers' personalities differ playing internationally, or not for you, but playing at home versus playing in the US? Have you noticed that they're more rude to you here?
So in the US, it's really a thing like, oh, you took this card or you did this wrong, or if you didn't hit it, then this would have happened. This I cannot stand. Like you come into the casino and the only way you can deal with your gambling problem is by blaming everything on anybody else. And it's just coping, and I don't like that. You don't see that in other countries. In the UK, you don't see it at all. Like people come in and out of the game all the time. Like no one is asking and no one cares. So that's nice. Arabic countries, well, they could be very chill about it. I don't know if it's because they have a lot of money or it's just, but also there you will find people with good tempers that can flip. But you will see it more in the US.
I just think that's a Western ego thing. Like people that floppies in the US, they literally expect to win. They think that they can beat the game, and they all think that they're experts at blackjack, or any other game that they're playing. It's the same thing. Like I have my system, or I know this works, or I know what the book says and this is what you're supposed to do. And they're all just gambling fallacies that they just make up. But back to what we were saying before about how awful, people play like in Europe and how insane it gets. They're just pure gambling. I think that's why they really just don't care what you do, because they're going to do what their gut says every single time.
Yeah, it's really, there's no logic behind it. They won't do the same thing twice. They will just do whatever feels right.
One thing I noticed playing internationally versus the US is like the hours of operation of the table games. Have you noticed playing internationally, it's like they're not open for most of the day or 24 hours?
The places I've been to have been open for 24 hours mostly. No, it's been pretty good.
Have you done any South America yet?
I haven't done it. I know some places where I could go, but I've also read and heard bad stories about them.
What have you heard?
I heard that a guy made good money in Colombia, and then I think it was even on this podcast. I think he got pulled into the back and got a gun to his head to give away his winnings. Or it might be another podcast, but those things are happening. And in general, those countries, like I've been to Colombia a lot. All you need is one dealer that tells his buddies that are close to the criminal activities like, hey, this guy is around town and he has lots of money and you're going to become a target, and they will rob you like so easily.
I think the key to playing certain regions is knowing somebody that plays those regions. So there are definitely guys that play South America. So I would just say if you wanted to attack that market, just hook up with one of them. Give a little shout out to El Loquito right now. Like that would be a good source. Hit him up and talk to him if you ever want to go to South America and find out what the games are like in the Latin world.
Sweet. I'm going to do that. I'm definitely going to contact him.
Besides South America, are there any countries that you've heard of that have a good game that you're just like, no, I'm not even going to try to go there or attempt? I mean, I know that North Korea does have a blackjack game.
What?
But they have one casino and they do have blackjack. I have no idea what the game. I bet it's incredible, but it's so not worth the risk.
No. But I can't believe they have a blackjack. It's got to be a criminal, like, it has to be. Well, the government itself, which is criminal. But yeah, I did not know that.
I would not play there. But honestly, that would probably also be the only place where I wouldn't play. I would still consider playing in places like Colombia, but just keep it way smaller and see it as like a fun adventure where you spread maybe $25 to $100 max or something like that.
So you're coming up, or you've completed a year as a pro now, or are you a little bit over that?
Yeah, a little bit over that.
All right. So what are some goals you're setting yourself up for? Like, what are you looking at? Because you said earlier, like, it might just be another year or whatever. So what are your goals? What are you looking to do? What's it look like in the next year?
Yeah, the goals for the next year, I wrote down on the form that I want $250,000 in EV, or at least 800 hours in. But that's based on last year, and it's just so much easier to get hours in outside of the US, and I'm kind of bound to the US a little bit at the moment. So, and including the 30K that I already lost in the first week of this year, I think the 250K is going to be a little bit steep. So I don't know how much it's going to be. I just really hope that I can form a team. I want to get a few guys out there. I already knew a few people that could play, and I just want to get enough money to bankroll them and still maintain a good bankroll for myself. So I think getting a team on track would be much more important to me now than getting 800 hours in.
After going through a whole year of playing, I mean, what is your general opinion about card counting in general as a living?
It's definitely not for everyone. It's to do it as a pro, it takes a certain type of craziness. I think you must love traveling, I think, or should at least appreciate it a little bit. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard. You got to get used to losing the money. I was happy that I already got to know their two broker, but if you cannot handle losing the money and you don't like traveling, you're not going to make it.
To all those younger guys, especially, that look at it and they're just like, I have this good paying job, but I just want to be a full-time pro. What do you say to them? Quit their job and go?
If they're doubting it, they can. I would love to talk to them and see how their mindset really is to see if they can do it. But in general, in life, I would say just try it, because you can do it for a few months, see how it is, set some money aside, don't go completely broke, and just try it out if it's for you or not. But also, for everyone that's playing, give it time. Because if I had this swing at the start of my career, I don't know if I would have pulled through to 600 hours. I remember looking at the variance visualizer on the BJA website. This is a feature I absolutely love. And I was looking at that before I began, and I was trying to visualize and feel for myself, like, how would it be to go through these 400 or 500 hour swings? And that's something you have to ask yourself, like, especially if you're playing even worse games, like with 300 hours and zeros, you're going to play hundreds of hours and they're going to feel like it's all for nothing. But are you able to pull through that and make at least 1,000 hours before you start judging yourself? That's something you got to question.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I think one of the most dangerous things for somebody that has a career already and is getting into AP Life card counting is they have amazing variance in the beginning, because that sets up an expectation level, and you're going to be sorely disappointed when you go through the downturns. One of the best things that ever happened to me is getting crushed in my first 100+ hours, and just, getting crushed. And it really gave me pause, and I kept my good paying job for like 4 or 5 years before I ever went full-time pro and just stayed kind of quote unquote part-timer. So, yeah, everybody, think about it, give it some time. That's great advice, 5 a.m.
There definitely is something to, if you are wanting to go full time or if you are full time, there is something a little bit wrong with you in the head. I think it's pretty common. All of us who have played full time, it's just, I don't know what that is, but there's definitely something going on. But I think, I mean, I'm pretty confident you're going to pull through this kind of downswing because I can tell you have a really hard work ethic and you're not going to give up and you're playing aggressively enough that it's definitely going to come around like crazy. But yeah, when you're in it, it's tough, those long streaks. And also, maybe it didn't help that you started off your career playing games with edges off the top where you could double after like 3 cards. It's got to be horrible when you're going to the US, you go to some small place and it's like 6 deck, no resplit aces, no surrender.
$200 max.
Yeah. What's your cutoff for, let's take a very standard for people listening, like a standard game in the US, 6 deck, no surrender. How much pen would you play max? Like, what's the max cutoff for you for it's too much cutoff?
If there's not other games in the area and they're letting me play, I mean, if they're letting me play at this point, I will play 1.75 to 2.
Right. That's kind of the whole drawback. It's like, well, they're letting me play. My cutoff was 1.75. I would not play like beyond that almost always because there are so many places here to play in the US. But there is that temptation where it's like, man, they are just letting me, like a place like Mohegan Sun, for example. They have so many, like there's been times where I've played there, they're so tolerant, but that's because their pen is just so all over the place and they just don't care. At times, it's ebbs and flows, but like when I was playing, they didn't care at all. But then it's like, man, do I want to keep playing at this place that's like 1.75, 1.8 cut off just because they're letting me? I mean, if I have a 400-hour break even, that would just be so brutal.
Yeah, that's true. I'm scared of that as well, but I don't stick around too long. I would say 175 to max 2 if it's resplit aces. I mean, if it's not resplit aces, that matters as well.
Yeah. With all the international play you're doing, there's a lot of, border customs you have to go through and procedures you have to follow. Is there any piece of advice you can give to people listening or considering going out and finding these games?
Yes, it's been said before, but it's so essential to declare your money. Always declare your money. If you don't see a place in the airport where you can declare your money, and this has happened to me multiple times, just keep asking around until you find that place. Don't leave the airport without declaring, because I was at this place and they would send me from here to there and no one knew what to do. But in the end, I found out that if I didn't do it, they would have just taken all my money. And I was very lucky because it was a country where you're not allowed to take out more money than you come with. And I had like 7,000 more and they were like, well, okay, for this time, it's okay. But always declare it. It can also lead to weird situations because in this one country, it was very unorganized and they were scanning luggage, but you could just sneak through it pretty much. And everyone was just overtaking each other. There were no lines. There was no structure anywhere. I was already doing a few countries before and said, yeah, I have $50,000 that I would like to declare. And 50,000 equals more than 10 annual salaries there. And what did they do in this big hall with hundreds of people flowing through? They laid out all the money where everyone could see it. And I was like, yeah, this money's going to be gone. This is like, how can they do this? But it all worked out. And it was one of those countries that seemed dangerous, but it was actually very safe. So you're going to run into weird places, but always declare your money.
Did you see the reactions on people's faces looking at them counting the money?
No, I was very busy with just protecting it. So I was trying to make myself as big as possible. I had a jacket on. I was just covering it as much as possible and trying to tell the guy to like speed up a little bit.
Oh, that's nerve-wracking.
Something people I don't think fully grasp, especially when they're first getting into international play. What you just said, like different countries have different protocols. And even here in the US, it's shocking how nobody knows what you're supposed to be doing and that's in the US. So as much pre-work as you can do, I highly advise that you try to understand the process in whatever state you're flying through, what country you're going in and out of. Like, do your research beforehand and be prepared for spending extra time in the airport. Do not give yourself tight turns when it comes to getting on another plane, or you will screw yourself. Because the biggest mistake you can make is just saying screw it and trying to get it through. That will end very, very badly for you. And in the US, even like some of the Customs and Border Protection offices aren't on the actual physical airport. They're off of it. So you have to know these things. Some of them don't even have offices there at all. And you just have to know what you're doing, because you will lose that money, like 5 a.m. said.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was traveling somewhere within the EU, but my connection was the jumping off point from there to the US, and I had to declare during the layover. And I was so lucky that they didn't physically count out every single bill, because it would have taken so long. They just looked at it and gave it the okay, but I probably would have missed my flight if they had to count out everything.
Yeah, in some countries, I mean, I've gone to the same country multiple times, and every person that handles it is different. Some don't even look at it. Some just look at straps. Some of it break it down. Like, it's different every single time. So you have to be prepared, and you have to give yourself that time. And that's an important point you brought up too, Joe. In the US, if I'm leaving from my city, but then I have a layover, I have to declare from the port that I'm leaving to go to another country from, not my original port or airport of origin. It's where you're leaving the country from. That's where the process starts, and that's where it ends when you get back in. And the same applies to other countries too. It's where you're entering and exiting from, not your original port. So just know that, guys.
Good advice. Yep.
I wanted to touch on something, the currency control you were talking about, because some countries have currency controls. Like, for example, you bring in 10,000, you can't leave with more than 10,000, or vice versa. How do you get around that if you have a huge win? Is that just where Bitcoin comes into play?
Yeah. So one time what I did was, when I came in, I knew this country didn't count that properly. And I decided to divide my stacks of hundreds in a certain way that I could declare a little bit more than it was, to cover a little bit there. They found out, and it was miscounted, and they said, okay, it's not a big deal, which I kind of expected. So that was a risk I'm not advising anyone to take, but that's one way. And the other way was, in this country, I found out you can buy Rolex watches from like an actual, like, realistic, like not realistic, what's the right word, from a legit seller. And you could just sell it back home, and you would even make profit on the watch because you couldn't get it in Europe. So yeah, into goods like that, you can do it. It's a risk, but if you wear it on your wrist, like, no financial advice, but crypto, like I said.
It's so funny having this conversation. And my wife says this all the time. She's like, you understand when you have these conversations, you sound like a drug dealer or you sound like a criminal, because nobody else has to do these kind of things. And we're doing nothing illegal, but nobody else does these kind of things other than criminal organizations.
Yeah, you feel like you're wanted all the time. Sometimes I'm somewhere and a phone rings, and for a split second I think, oh, they're on to me. And I'm not even playing blackjack. Or I would be in a supermarket and I would come in, and the first moment I tell myself, okay, you gotta behave normal because otherwise they send you away. And I'm like, no, I'm in a supermarket. I behave however I want.
Or how sharp are your eyes identifying where cameras are too?
Oh, yes, all the time. Just checking it around, like in the elevator. Every elevator you step in, okay, are there cameras here? No.
Weird world.
It is, but it's beautiful.
Nice. Well, 5 a.m. Thanks so much for doing this podcast. That was really awesome to hear all those stories, all those amazing things you can find if you travel far and wide enough.
Yeah, it was an honor to be on here, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
The next Blackjack Apprenticeship Bootcamp is full for November, but if you guys want to hop on to the next one we're going to have in early 2025, you can message me, Joe748, or just go to blackjackapprenticeship.com.